Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss theories of capital structure, and I hope you are doing your study very well. So let's start. Firstly, what do you mean by capital structure? So it is the combination of debt and equity, and the mix of debt, that how much debt you are required to earn profit and how much equity you should have in the business. So we can say it is of the long term capital. Debt and equity are long term capital. And firstly, what are the theories? So there are four types of theories: net income approach, and net operating income approach, traditional approach, Modigliani and Miller approach. So firstly, let's start by one, and we will make relationships and connections between these theories. Okay, so firstly, let's broadly understand like net income approach and traditional approach. These are the assumptions that these are the approaches that says that capital structure is relevant for them. But for the net operating income approach and approach, capital structure is not relevant. And firstly, so net income approach is given by David Durant, and net operating income also was given by David Durant. Okay, so now let's start. What do you mean by net income approach? So this is the what happened, like what it says, that if you are increasing your debt, okay, so cost of capital will reduce because you are getting the you are taking the cheap debt, and your cost of capital will reduce initially up to a point. Okay, and value of firm is increased. So what are the assumption of this approach? Sorry, the assumption is, the most important assumption is cost of debt is less than cost of equity. This is most important assumption. Okay, no taxes, as like all these approaches follow no taxes. So this is the common assumption we can say. And risk perception of investor not affected by debt. इसका what do you mean by that? इसका मतलब है कि if you are taking the debt of at 1 lakh, the cost is 5%, and if you are taking the more debt like 5 lakh, then cost of debt is also 5%. Okay, there is no change in it. Now let's understand by the diagram. Here what is happening here, if you're taking the debt, okay, like your cost of capital is reducing. Why it is reducing? Because you are taking the tax benefits and you have cheap debt, and that's why, because of cost of capital is reduces, your value of firm is increasing, because your your value of firm, we can say, is inversely proportional to cost of capital. Okay, so I think we have covered, yes, we have covered this. And okay, so now in this by this diagram, we can say that cost of debt and cost of equity constant, more tax saving, and that's why reduce cost of capital and increase value of firm. Okay, now what is the formula? Like in exams you may face questions, numerical questions. So what is the formula? Value of firm is equals to EBIT divided by cost of equity. What does it mean? That you are earning how much, जितनी भी तुम अर्न कर रहे हो उसमें से तुम्हें कितनी उधारी देनी है, लाइक कितना तुम्हें क्रेडिट लिया उतना पे करना है. सो इट इज़ लाइक दैट ओनली. ओके, आपकी कितनी कॉस्ट इनकर्ड हुई है. नाउ व्हाट इज द वैल्यू ऑफ फर्म? वैल्यू ऑफ फर्म इज, वी कैन से, मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ इक्विटी एंड plus debt. So what is the formula of market value of equity is net income and cost of equity. Here यहाँ से क्वेश्चन आता है कि जो net income है ना, ये आफ्टर डिडक्टिंग इंटरेस्ट एंड टैक्स है. ओके ओके, so we have completed this approach, I think within 4 minutes or earlier. Now we are going to on the next approach, net operating income approach. नेट ऑपरेटिंग इनकम अप्रोच, आई टोल्ड यू अर्लियर दैट क्या कहती है कि कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर तुम्हारा रिलीवेंट नहीं है. तो लेट्स सी. सो इसमें क्या होता है कि देखो, फर्स्ट सबसे पहले हमने जो, नाउ लेट्स मेक द कनेक्शंस बिटवीन दीज असम्पशंस. हमने बोला था कि नेट इनकम अप्रोच में रिस्क परसेप्शन जो है इन्वेस्टर का, वो कांस्टेंट रहता है, अफेक्ट नहीं करता है. ठीक है, लेकिन यहाँ पर क्या है, रिस्क जो है अफेक्ट करता है. यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि तुम डेट ले रहे हो. ओके, अब डेट ले रहे हो तो जो इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर है, लाइक इफ यू आर टेकिंग मोर एंड मोर डेट, देन they might face risk. So what they are asking, they'll ask for more like more returns. Okay, so what does it, why does it matter? It increases your cost of equity. So here what happened, like by this diagram you can understand here, like okay, here cost of capital and debt constant है, but cost of equity increases है, क्योंकि with leverage you are taking more and more debt. अब ज़्यादा डेट लोगे तो इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर रिस्क फेस करेंगे, वो ज़्यादा रिटर्न की लाइक एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि आप उनको ज़्यादा रिटर्न दो, एंड दैट्स वाई तो कॉस्ट ऑफ इक्विटी इंक्रीज होगी यहाँ पर. ओके, दैट्स वाई वी आर सेइंग दैट कॉस्ट ऑफ डेट वो like capital structure is not relevant. Okay, debt is not relevant, but it is the case here. Like cost of equity offset the advantage, like the advantage that you are taking of low or cheap debt in previous in this like in net income approach. Okay, sorry, oh my god. So here like in this net income approach we were taking this assumptions that low cheap, but here cost of equity is offsetting this advantage. So here what is there, like cost of capital, overall cost of capital is constant. Okay, so I think we have completed it. Now comes on traditional approach. Here what do you mean by this? So it is also known as intermediate approach, and it is the combination of between we can say it compromises between two extremes of net income approach and net operating income approach. Okay, how? So this is first stage, second stage and third stage. What is there, like आप लोगों ने पढ़ा कि नेट इनकम अप्रोच में क्या हो रहा था कि कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल रिड्यूस हो रही थी by increasing the cost of debt. So same thing is there, like if you are taking the debt, your because of cheap debt cost of capital is reducing, but here and cost of equity is constant. But in the second approach what is happening, if you are taking more debt, your cost of capital like your cost of capital remains same, but your cost of equity is increased. Here it is the happening the same. And what is there in third stage, that if you like in this cost of debt is also if you are taking more further debt, then cost of debt is also increased, cost of equity is also increased, and by this because of this combination your cost of capital is also increased. Okay, now I told you by diagram, so let's understand these points. These are very small points. First is cost of equity and cost of debt constant, that you can see here, and cost of debt is less than cost of equity. This is the assumption, most important assumption that I told you here. And increase in debt up to a reasonable level. Okay, and cause cost of capital to reduce. Here cost of capital is reducing due to low cost advantage of debt, but in this assumption this low cost advantage of debt is not useful. Let's see. Further increase in debt, no effect on value of firm. Rise in debt, but here rise in debt risk to equity share, which is causing cost of equity to increase, and increase in cost of equity offset the low advantage of cheap debt, we can say. So here overall cost of capital is constant. Okay, now let's see in the third stage, further increase in debt leads to risk to both equity and debt shareholders. Okay, cost of equity increases, cost of debt is also increased, and overall cost of capital increases. Okay, so now comes the last and fourth assumption, that is approach. So it was given in 1952 by Franklin Modigliani and Merton and Miller. So here there are two propositions. Proposition 1 without taxes, proposition 2 with taxes. Okay, so here whether firm use debt or equity, total value firm remains same. Okay, and capital structure is irrelevant here. But in this proposition 2, with taxes, interest on debt is deductible. So using debt reduce taxable income, more debt increases firm value because tax yield benefit. Okay, so here capital structure is not relevant. So I think we have completed the all the approaches. So this is all about these approaches, and thank you everyone. Have a nice day. Bye bye everyone.